right, today we're going to learn about absolute value. All right, your objective is to understand absolute value as distance. And this is page 24. So we've already talked about absolute value a little bit, so let's just review. It's the distance away from zero, also a change in values. So basically how far a number is from zero. So we have here the absolute value of -3. Well, -3 is 1, 2, 3 from 0. And then we have +3. The absolute value of +3, well, it's also 1, 2, 3 from 0. So both absolute values would equal 3. All right, so in most cases it's going to be positive. Now the only exception is if you actually have a negative on the outside of the absolute value bars. Because negative also, you can think of it like opposite. This is actually saying what is the opposite of the absolute value of 2? Well, the absolute value of 2 is 2. The opposite of that is -2. Okay? What is the opposite of the absolute value of -2? Well, the absolute value of -2 is 2. The opposite of that is -2. So basically, if you see the negative on the outside of the bars, it's still going to carry to your answer. But if it's on the inside, it really doesn't count. This one has one on the outside, so that's why it's still negative here. All right, so now we're just going to find the absolute value of some numbers. So here we have the absolute value of -9. Well, how far is -9 from 0? It's 9 away, so that would just be 9. Okay, here we have the opposite of the absolute value of 45. Well, 45 is 45 away from 0, and the opposite of that would be -45. So you can see this carried over into our answer because it was outside of the absolute value bars. Go ahead and try to find the absolute value of these two values. Okay, well, how far is 0 from 0? It's 0 away, so that's just 0. And then now this one, it's a little tricky because you see two negative signs, but they're both inside the absolute value bars. If they're inside, they pretty much go away. So you could think of this as -3.5. What's the opposite of that? The opposite of -3.5 is 3.5, and the absolute value of 3.5 is 3.5. So again, if all the negatives are inside the absolute value bars, you don't have to worry about them. Your answer is going to be positive. Only when it's on the outside do you have to remember to carry that to your answer. All right, so now it says which point has an absolute value of 6? So go ahead and look at your choices and see if you can figure out which one is correct. Okay, well, let's start by looking at A. You have to first see what the scale is. You can't just assume it's counting by 1 and that this is only -3. Because I see right here this is -10. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. Well, 10 divided by 5 is 2. That means I'm counting by 2's. So this would be -2, -4, -6, -8. Well, let's think. What's the absolute value of -6? Well, it's 6 away. So this one would work. How about B? Well, B is on 0, so the absolute value of that would just be 0. So that one's not going to work. All right, and then this is still counting by 2, so 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, well, if this is the absolute value of 6, well, that's 6 away. So that would have an absolute value of 6. So now I can see it's not going to be C only. It's not going to be A only. It will be A and C. It's not none of the above. All right, and last one. Which expression or value best represents the length of line segment AB on the number line below? In other words, which one of these best represents the length of AB? Go ahead and try that for yourself. Okay, well, I can actually use absolute value to help me. So right here we have -5. If I find the absolute value of -5, that's 5. Right here we have 3. If I find the absolute value of 3, that's 3. Well, if this is 3 away and this is 5 away, how long is it total? Well, 5 plus 3 is 8. It can't be B or C, and the reason it's not negative is because distance is always going to be positive. So that one we can cancel out because you're not going to have a negative distance. You can't go run negative 8 feet. You're going to run 8 feet. It might be in a different direction, but it's still going to be a positive distance. So D would be the best choice. Okay, well that's it for absolute value. See you next time.